என்னடா யோசிக்கிற? There is nothing to think so much மச்சான். தைரியமா போ. ட்ரஸ்டபிள்ரா. 3 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடி என்ன பார்த்துருக்கல, இப்போ நான் பார்க்குறல்ல. How confident I am because I have taken a right decision. நான் கொடுத்த அட்ரஸ் போய் விசிட் பண்ணு. You will have a personal care from them.
எல்லா பேஷண்ட்ஸுக்கும் பர்சனல் கேர் தராங்க. 30 years of proven medical records. All eye care treatment under one roof. அதான் ஆர்கே ஐ சென்டரோட ஸ்பெஷாலிட்டி.
My dear children of God, it's my pleasure to be with you all once again in this episode of how to lead a meaningful life for our Lord. For the past few weeks, I have been sharing on how God has been intervening in my life, in my secular side, and how God can make you to be a head and not a tail. So last week I shared on how I planned for my wife to enter into private practice, and this week I am planning to get into how I started my own private business. If you want to see these episodes, you can always visit www.divinetruth.asia or in YouTube Narendranath. As I was sharing, God was grooming me during the first 5 years in a government sector, next 12 years in a private sector, before enabling me to start a private limited company. We see in Bible God elevating David from a shepherd boy to a king, and Joseph as a pampered child being put into a pit, and later as a slave, and then as a prisoner, and finally elevating him as next to Pharaoh. And in Moses' life we find ups and downs. He is born as a slave, was about to be killed, escapes. The next 40 years he grows in Pharaoh's palace as a prince. But we see next 40 years again looking after his father-in-law's sheep, and finally another next 40 years leading the Israelites out of bondage from Egypt as a number one. God can do miracles. God can do anything. So last week I shared on how we planned for my wife to leave her job in a premier eye institute and start private practice in a 2-bedroom flat, which by His grace has grown up into a good hospital now, and how I, having gained experience of first 5 years between 1982, first 5 years from 1975 to 80 in a government sector, and from 1980 to 1992 in a private sector, and how I started my private limited company in the year 1992. When I joined the private sector, our annual turnover was around 20 lakhs in the year 1980. By the year 1992, when I was leaving, we could increase it to over 400 lakhs, almost 20 times. And my management was very kind enough to bid me farewell in a very good way, as my chairman told me, if you can give employment to 30-40 people, that would be a great thing for the humanity. Very rarely you can see such benevolent and broad-minded people. I was fortunate to work under them. My wife started her institution in the year 1989 under the name RKI Center. In the year 1990, I wanted to start, but my father met with an accident and he was bedridden for almost a year. So in 1991 he passed away, and then my mother passed away within 6 months. So only by 1992 I could venture into my own company, and I was planning to start it as a private limited company, and I was coining several names. My first son's name was Naveen, second son's name was Praveen, so Pranav, so many things I applied, nothing was accepted because such names were already registered. Finally, I coined the word flow term, flow, because I was doing a lot of pipeline jobs. So water was flowing. I took the first 3 letters, flow. Therm, because I was doing some thermal packages. THERM, therm means heat. So Flow Therm Engineers Private Limited I applied. I had some ambition of trying to do major jobs. So that name was accepted. So in the year 1992, January, I got this name registered, and I approached my management and requested them to relieve me by April 1st, 1992. They also relieved me as assured, and I completed all the critical projects that was in hand before that. So I was free to be on my own. I took up a 2-bedroom flat, recruited one engineer and one accountant to start with, because overheads I didn't want to have more. I went about trying to book orders. Basically, I used to book orders from consultants earlier when I was in my private sector jobs. But now when I visited the consultants to shortlist me as a potential contractor, I started facing a lot of obstacles, understandably. They said, Narendranath, as a general manager of a private limited company with a lot of staff and lot of bank facilities, you are very powerful. We could trust and shortlist your private limited company where you are working as a general manager. But as a managing director of a new company, we cannot shortlist you, because where is your finances? Where are your staff? They all will be highly strained. How can you take up and execute major projects? It may not be possible. So they were not shortlisting me. So what I used to do is, I used to take my classmates and introduce them to the potential consultants and clients, and telling them that they are my staff. And there were some contractors who started their businesses few months earlier or few years earlier. I used to request them to come and meet these consultants and assure them that they are my staff, just to give a feeling that I am not all alone. So along with my one staff, I used to take, and slowly I recruited a couple of more engineers. We are working on how to book orders, but no finances. We didn't have any much finance. So the first opening, by the grace of God, we got it through heavy vehicle factory at Avadi. Macon were the consultants. Job was at CVRD, Combat Vehicle Research and Development Corporation, and heavy vehicle factory was the parent one, and that project had some water cooling, air compressors, and water treatment plant and things like that. They reluctantly gave me the tender, and I was competing with others, and one value was around 10 to 12 lakhs, which was big for me at that time, and I didn't have much bank facilities to start with. So I was telling them I don't need the advance. I will supply and take the advance portion on supply, so that the moment material reaches the client site, I will be in a position to get the money. Bulk of the items were pipes, fittings and flanges and valves and things like that. And by the grace of God, I had developed a good credit worthiness before I started this company. When I was the general manager of a private limited company, I used to pay my suppliers on time, in fact before time. So they were all very happy and they knew I will stick to my commitment. So they were ready to supply the material on credit, so that I don't have to buy them and then take it to the site. Just order, take the material, keep them inside, collect the money, pay them. That was possible. But the major item in that package was one air compressor. In those days it was 2 lakhs. It was big money. Today it may be low, but in a project of 10 to 12 lakhs, 2 lakhs was a major money. But air compressor suppliers in toto, all of them were having only one payment term, 100% before it leaves their site, which means no credit. They expected money to be paid in advance, and once when you pay 100%, they will allow the material to leave their factory. And I didn't have that much money to pay and take it. When that was the case, I went and requested a consultant whether they could consider compressors separately. They said no way, all in one package. So I was about to lose that order. God moved the heart of one supplier, air compressor supplier, who came forward to give me credit. I convinced him. I said, what am I going to do after collecting the money? I showed him the payment terms. I said, you supply, it goes into the defense and defense pays me, I pay you. So with that, he came forward and I could book my first order of 12 lakhs. And with that, I could move about booking more and more orders. And I engaged several chartered accountants to help me in getting the bank facilities from different banks, and how I got that done and how God sent angels to help me out, I will share it in the coming weeks. If you want to see the episodes of the other sections of these videos, you are most welcome to visit www.divinetruth.asia or in YouTube Narendranath. Until I meet you next time, thank you.
Appointment வாங்கிட்டல?
வாங்கிட்டேன்க்கா.
Hey, why are you getting nervous? Last month பிரியா குட்டியோட அங்க தான் விசிட் பண்ணேனா. எக்கனாமிக்கல் டா. இன்சூரன்ஸ் கூட கிளைம் பண்ணிக்கலாம். premature பேபிஸ்ல இருந்து old age people வரைக்கும் விசிட் பண்ற ஒரு இடம்.
எல்லா பேஷண்ட்ஸுக்கும் பர்சனல் கேர் தராங்க. 30 years of proven medical records. RK Eye Center டி நகர்ல இருக்கிறதுனால accessible to all places.
Youngsters, you guys must take the right decision at the right time with the right people.